What's going on, people? I am Swaver, and this is the OpinionatedFactsmgr podcast. And tonight, we have a very special episode for you guys. I'm joined by my co-host, Lovejoy, and a very special guest, Monique. How y'all doing tonight, ladies?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. That's awesome. I always want to tell our listeners, thank y'all so much for the continued support. And tonight, we will not disappoint. We're going to be talking about autism, and our special guest Mo will be going through her experience with autism. After doing a little bit of research myself, I did not know all the different things about autism. And did y'all know that 1% of the world population has autism?
Actually, found that out during my journey, but beforehand, no.
Okay, that's
I found out right now.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that. And also, 1 in 36 children or people have autism in the United States, and that has gone up 178% since the year 2000, which was 1 in 150. So we have seen a major increase in people joining the spectrum. So yeah, we're gonna go into it a little bit tonight, you guys. We're gonna talk a little bit more about a few more facts, and just gonna let Mo just tell you all about her story. So Mo, we can start with just a little bit about yourself, nothing too personal, but just a little bit about yourself, and then we can just kind of ease our way into the story. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool.
Well, I'm born and raised in Montgomery. Work here in Montgomery, of course. Have my bachelor's in human resource management. And
educated. That's what I'm talking about. Educated young lady. Let's go.
I know.
Yes. So, and I'm very thankful that I have a great support system when it comes to my son. And without them, and of course my faith in God, that's where I've been able to really pour into my child the way I need to. So
okay,
that's good.
So let me ask you this: you have a son, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to autism, like how did you even think to, hey, this may be autism, or what was the things he was showing you, or like what happens for you to come to the conclusion about autism?
Well, in complete honesty, autism never crossed my mind, but I knew something was amiss because he had turned 1, and before his first birthday, he was saying up to about 25, 30 little phrases. He imitated cars, animals. He would say my name, his dad's name, grandmother, just little words and phrases he was saying. And then the pandemic hit, and his daycare closed, of course, along with everything else.
Right.
And he just went completely mute. And it took, go ahead.
If he wasn't saying anything anymore?
No, wasn't saying anything. Like he may make little noises, but it was a complete turnaround from where he was initially. And I spoke to his pediatrician and I gave him my concerns, and that was the first kind of block I got. She said, well, he's a boy, and sometimes boys can be a little stubborn. They tend to kind of progress a little slower than girls. And I just looked at her like, okay, that sounds good, but my baby was talking. So
you know what? I don't want to stop you right there, but I did want to tell the audience that about 4 times as many boys are diagnosed with autism than girls. Just in case you guys, that's a very interesting fact. But please go ahead.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a very good thing to say because I learned that along the way. But, it kind of just didn't sit right with me because I'm like, something just wouldn't let me rest about it. And I ended up reaching out to a program called Projects Giggles and Giggles. And they're called PWAG for short. And they do early intervention with toddlers. It's a free program under insurance, and it is until the day before their 3rd birthday. And at this point, my son was a little over 1. And the downside to it was because of COVID, we couldn't do anything in person. It was all via Zoom. So his evaluation was via Zoom. And I had to prop up the camera and let them observe him, how he interacted with toys, how he responded. Or in that case, another red flag was he didn't respond to his name at all. He kind of just looked off like, I know you're not talking to me. So, we're like, is he ignoring us? And that's what started the ball rolling. So it honestly took a year to get an actual diagnosis. And within that year, I exhausted every avenue. I had his hearing checked. I had his vision checked. I was like, maybe he can't hear. Maybe he needs hearing aids.
All right, trying to cross things off the list.
Yeah, like let me just make sure no stone has gone unturned. We even went to the point where he went to ENT, and the ENT checked him out and said, "Oh, I know exactly why he's not talking." And his father and I were like, "Okay, what is it?" Well, I checked him. Does he snore? And we said, yes. His nickname is Little Bear because he snores like a grizzly bear. And he said, well, does he have coughing fits in the middle of the night? And I said, he actually does. And he said he's experiencing that because his tonsils are so enlarged, they're touching.
Mm.
And we did go through with surgery. So he did have what they classify as a intracapsular tonsillectomy. So they took 90% of his tonsils and left 10 because he was so small. He was 2. And they kind of told me, okay, now watch. Once this heals up, he's going to be talking. And he was eating more and sleeping better, not snoring as much, but still no talking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So at that point, how did you feel? I'm sure you didn't give up hope because we know that you went further from that point. But at that time, how did you feel when that didn't work?
Honestly, I started to get a little discouraged. I didn't stop, but it was just like, okay, what are we not doing? Because at this point, I don't know. I've never experienced this. My friends with children around his age hadn't experienced it. And it made me kind of question me at one point, like, okay, as his mom, like, am I not working with him enough? Because at this point we're going over flashcards, and again, he's not talking. So he acknowledges the flashcards at this point, but he still was not saying anything.
Okay.
And his cognitive didn't stop. So like, if you told him if you asked him rather, can I have a ball? He got you the ball. If you asked him about a truck, he knew what a truck was, but verbally, he still was 0. And after the surgery, and I stressed my concerns to one of the representatives for Project Wiggles and Giggles, that was when could she use him as a case study? And she was going to have the case study published because she was actually at school to get her doctorate. And after she published her case study on him, I took that to different therapists in hopes that they would see.
Quick question. When your pediatrician told you that they would just, he's a boy, he'll develop later, did you keep the same pediatrician?
Actually, yes, for a while, because of course, during that time, it was kind of hard to transition from pediatricians because COVID had things so messed up. And I'm not going to lie, she had made me so comfortable up until that point. Like anything I needed as far as my son, she was on it. But this one thing, I honestly can't lie to you and say I felt like she dropped the ball. I did.
Okay.
So what finally got the diagnosis was after his representative at Project Wiggles and Giggles. And as I said, the day before their 3rd birthday, they no longer qualify for it anymore. She did email me a copy of her case study, which I was very grateful for. And I got introduced to Dr. Beth. Her practice is Works of Wonder. And she told me it's a 6-month waiting list. And I said, that's fine. I'll wait a year again if I have to. But I need someone to tell me what's going on with my baby. And that's where I say I wouldn't be anywhere without my faith, because I prayed and something just told me to call her office probably like a week after I made the appointment. And the young lady told me they have a cancellation list. Would I like to be added to? And I said, of course. And I kid you guys not, within 3 weeks, it went from 6 months to, oh, we have an opening at 4 months to, hey, I got an 8:15. Can you come tomorrow?
Wow.
Yes. And
I'll be there.
Yeah, I mean, with bells on, I will be there. She was very thorough. I see why she is so hard to get in with and why she was highly recommended, because to me, I thought she was just watching my child because we were in there an hour. And she had her laptop. She asked me, how was my pregnancy? Did he meet certain milestones up until the point he stopped talking? She was very thorough. And she called me and she said, it's going to take me a couple days, but I'm going to send you a full detailed report and analysis. And when I checked my email, she sent me a 50-page analysis on my child from 1 hour.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
So she knows her stuff, huh?
Very much so. I would recommend her to any parent that has exhausted all avenues. She really was very thorough. And like I said, just an hour of my son playing.
That's really good. I was looking at an article by the Vanderbilt University Medical Center, and it was talking about, it had like over 400 families. And it said the study found out that 28% of Black, African American, and multiracial families said that they felt like their ethnicity affected them getting a diagnosis. So it kind of makes you think about the fact that it took over a year to get the diagnosis. What are the other factors that took so long to get to the point of saying, hey, this is what's going on?
Now, I'm glad you said that, because one interesting tidbit that she said, and I couldn't do anything but respect her for her honesty. She said, I'm going to be very honest with you, and I don't want to offend you, but I'm just going to be very blunt. I commend you for your persistence, because I can't tell you how in my practice, I don't see a lot of parents like you. And I knew what she meant when she said it. And honestly, when we were in the waiting room, it was just,
yeah.
And I think some parents kind of get the signs, but they don't follow up on it, because the fear of, we're all around the same age group. So, well, we are in the same age group. When we were in grade school, if you had any type of learning disability, great or small, you were put separate.
Yes.
And you were kind of labeled. And I think that's what scares a lot of parents. Like, oh, I don't want my child to be labeled. Oh, I don't want my child to be mistreated because they're different. And I think that's why they kind of say, oh, well, I'm not going to push it. But in a sense, you are hurting your child more than you're helping, because you can get your child so much more help if they have the proper diagnosis. And that's honestly what happened. Once I got that diagnosis, speech therapy became available. Occupational therapy became available. ABA became available. All these doors start opening with that one visit.
I think some parents also are in denial. And in addition to knowing that, they don't want their children to be held back in any kind of way. But I think also it's just, no, that's not it. That can't be it. They'll grow out of it. And because they don't really understand what's going on. Would you agree?
I would most definitely agree, because that was I don't want to say the fight, but that was the disagreement his father and I had. He, from the beginning, was like, I think you're kind of reading a little too much into this. I think he's going to grow out of it. I've seen other kids, they grow out of it. And now that we're on this side of the journey, he has repeatedly thanked me for my persistence. He's like, you know what? I'm so glad you didn't listen to me. And I'm like, yeah, no offense to you, but I'm glad you didn't listen.
So since getting in this program and just being persistent and just not giving up, you've seen he's gotten the help that he's needed to get?
Most definitely. I'm so truly thankful. And it was slow at first with speech, because it's so many kids that need help. As you said, the numbers have dramatically increased from 2000 to now 2024. And there's so many kids that are on the spectrum, both low and high. And when we first started speech was only 30 minutes for one day a week. And I didn't let that discourage me at all. I said, hey, he needs it. We'll take him. And once they started to see progress, they approached me and said, hey, how would you feel about him going twice a week? And definitely wanted it. And then we found Early Autism Services, which has been in Birmingham for quite some time, but Montgomery just got their location of EAS a year ago. And I was able to get him in there. And between speech and him attending EAS, we went from not talking at all to he can say his ABCs by himself. He can count up to 25, knows all his colors. He's back talking, but the most, and I don't want to sound vain when I say this, but the thing that happened that got me the most was I literally went a year and a half before hearing my child say mom.
Oh.
And that was something that got me, because you would see other girls say, oh, I get tired of hearing my name. And I'm like, you just don't know how I would love to hear my name. And he was with my mom, and she called me at work, and I can't really talk on the phone at work. And she called me and she said, I know you can't talk, but he's been calling your name all day. And I said, he's been saying what? And she put him on FaceTime, and she said, baby, who's that? And he said, mama. And I broke down. I broke down, because like I said, to go a whole year and a half and not hear your child say your name, and now he's in the screen. He's like, mama. And I'm like, yes, babe, I'm your mom.
Well, this is really good. I'm so happy that he was able to get the attention and get into the programs that he needed to get into to get him up to speed. And we have to first of all just say hats off to you, big ups to you for just being
Yes.
are and not quitting, because there's so many people that probably would have just gave up, especially after that first go around. Opinionated Facts is gonna be giving out some plaques soon, and trust me, you go receive one. You did your thing out here.
Yes, persistent award.
Oh
Exactly.
yeah, we
Oh,
I was definitely not taking that. Oh, he'll be all right. No.
and big shouts to Dad too for hanging in there. He may not have known all the things, but he cares too, and that's another thing we have to talk about too.
Yes.
We can't leave out Dad. Dad's important too. I want to also ask you this as we come to a close. What is something that you want the mothers to know, or fathers out there, anybody that's going through this or having issues with autism in their children? What's that one thing you want them to know?
Consistency. I can't stress that enough. Throughout this journey, they laugh at me as far as my support system. I love them to death, but they laughed at me because I used to have meetings with them, and I'm like, hey, what we're doing at home, I need him to do at every household. So it paid off, because before bed we went over numbers, colors, and ABC, and feeding himself and going to the potty. And he bounces between 4 households consistently. That's here with me, his father stays in Huntsville, my mom, and my aunt and uncle, who basically helped my parents raise me. They're my second set of parents, and they are his honorary grandparents. They kept him in the afternoons and stuff. So everyone's house had a table where he sat down and ate and fed himself. Everyone had puzzles, everyone had posters, and it was just that consistency all across the board that I feel really got us where we are now, to where he is potty trained, he is talking, and that's the most important thing, because if you read up on autism, it tells you that the structure and routine is so important. Mm-hmm. So that was something I definitely stressed to everybody. And although they laughed and said, hey, it's 8:30. Why is the boy going over his ABC? Well, he can sing them to you perfectly now. So it was not in vain.
Right.
All right. Well, I want to definitely say thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. And to the listeners, if you guys have anything that you guys are thinking about as far as like questions or anything like that, you can put them in the comments below. Also, if you have your own story as a listener and you want to come on and talk about it, hey, contact us. We'll let you come onto the show, especially if it's right for what we're trying to do. I want to thank y'all so much for listening. I appreciate you, Mo, for coming on and sharing your story with us. And I guess if that's all, I am Swaver. This is the Opinion Facts Media Group podcast. I'm joined by my amazing co-host and again our special guest, Mo. And until next time, y'all, peace.